The Battle of Hastings was fought in 1066 between the French Normans and the English army under King Harold Godwinson. The two players will control one of these factions and race through their decks to complete the objectives and get to the final objective, the Battle of Hastings. Here, the first player to control 2 wedges out of the 3 wins. Alternatively, a player may simply decide to race in a different manner and simply kill the opposing leader. No easy feat. Players take turns doing one action each. Players will deploy units and characters in one of the 3 wedges on their side by paying the required resource. These are generated with other cards on the field by tiring them or discarding cards for 1 resource per. It's important to note that the cards will deploy closest to the front lines as much as possible in that wedge. If a card is already there, they'll deploy under it, and again under that in the last and final 3rd line. Placement is important as range becomes very tactical in this game. These will tell you up to how many spaces they can target a card and deal it damage, which is tracked with these tokens here when executing an action instead of playing a card. If space is limited as an action, you may also sacrifice a card. And lastly, you may pass. Doing so will ensure your first player next round, but your opponent can now take as many turns as he wishes until they pass. Besides the cruel violence needed in war, some battles will be won by completing objectives to serve you in the long run. When players have passed, they'll look at their objective, which will require either a might or zeal test to complete. Any ready cards that have the appropriate value will be totaled. They'll minus the objective's value, and any excess will bring them closer to achieving it. When this value is reached or passed by wound tokens, resolve the objective's effect and reveal the new one. If both players have the Battle of Hastings objective in play, then we check for each wedge for a might battle. Each player sums the might value of their ready units at that wedge. If one player has it higher than his opponent, he'll put the difference he exceeded him by on the wedge using his wound tokens. If both players tie, even at 0, 1 wound will be placed for each player. Do the same for wedge 2 and 3. Placing your 10th wound token there will win you the wedge. 1 more and you'll win. If only one player has the Battle of Hastings objective, we simply look for zeal combat. If the player with the Battle of Hastings objective has higher zeal in that wedge, he places 1 damage token there. If not, nothing happens. If the game is not over, a new round begins. If a player has no cards in their deck, their opponent automatically wins. Next, each player draws 2 cards. Your hand limit is 6. The player with the first player marker, who passed first last round, will lead the charge. How will you win? Race through objective, or find a way to eliminate your opponent's leader? There can only be one victor. 1066, Tears to Many Mothers, will provide lots of tactical choices for any level of gamer. I tried to do the best I can to show the game experience, but this video review cannot show you the intricacies that happens in any given game when the players are in effect playing sort of a tennis match. Besides different types of cards that add to this, like events, tactics, and attachments that we haven't spoken about, your opponent's movement, swaps, and deployment methods will really alter what you do on your turn. Now, of course, with any game that has draw factor in it, there will be luck involved. But the advanced variant really helps this along by allowing players to draw 3 or 4 cards and discarding 1 or 2 respectively. I prefer this variant as it gives you more control and gives you a sense of urgency to complete your tasks or risk running out of time and losing by not having any cards in your deck. The 2 decks also play slightly different and yet provide a balanced experience. The artwork you can judge for yourself, I like it quite a bit, as well as the components and card stock, and it plays well in about 30 minutes. There's also a solo variant in there in case you don't want to beat on your friend too much. Replay value has me a little concerned, but you can always switch that up by shuffling up objectives as long as the A and G are on the top and bottom respectively. It's a pretty good game as it's the pure example of what a tactical card game should do. 1066 Tears to Many Mothers scores an 8 out of 10.